The Ithorians made a fatal mistake in thinking humanity would submit to alien domination without a fight. The Ithorian fleet loomed ominously over Earth, thousands of massive warships bristling with superior weaponry. On the bridge of the Ithorian flagship, Supreme Commander Altair grinned wickedly as he briefed his subordinates. He declared that soon the primitive humans would bow before their new alien overlords. The Ithorians planned to enslave all of humanity, confident that Earth's inferior technology stood no chance against their military might. Meanwhile, alarms blared inside a classified human government facility. Ethan Morgan, a brilliant aerospace engineer, stared in shock at the radar screens showing the immense alien armada entering the solar system. He raced through the concrete corridors to brief Earth's top leaders on the unfolding crisis. Panic and chaos gripped the world as the Ithorians broadcast their intention to conquer the planet. Commander Altair demanded humanity's immediate surrender or face total annihilation. But Earth had an ace up its sleeve unknown to the arrogant alien invaders. For decades, the planet's greatest scientific minds like Ethan had been developing cutting-edge warships and weapons in a top-secret global endeavor. This clandestine space fleet, hidden away in underground bases, was humanity's last resort against an existential threat from the stars. As the Ithorian ships menacingly descended on major cities, Ethan and the world leaders gave the order to initiate Project Vanguard. Across the planet, disguised hangar doors parted, revealing thousands of advanced human vessels that launched to confront the stunned alien armada in orbit. Ethan boarded the Prometheus, the mighty flagship he had helped design, and prepared to lead Earth's forces in a desperate battle against the technologically superior enemy. The fate of the entire human species hung in the balance as the two fleets faced off, ready to unleash the full force of their arsenals. If Ethan and the humans failed, their people would suffer enslavement and ruin under the Ithorians' cruel reign. This fight would determine the future of humanity among the stars. The void of space erupts in a maelstrom of destruction as the forces of Earth and Ithoria clash. Brilliant beams of directed energy lance out from the human ships, slicing through the hulls of Ithorian cruisers. The alien vessels return fire, their superior firepower melting armor and turning unfortunate human craft into expanding clouds of debris. On the bridge of the Prometheus, Ethan Morgan barks orders, his eyes fixed on the tactical display. The holographic projection shows the positions of the warring fleets, a desperate dance of death high above Earth. "Focus fire on their shield generators," Ethan shouts. "We need to create an opening to the flagship." The human weaponry, powered by technology kept secret until this very moment, begins to take its toll. One by one, the barriers protecting the Ithorian ships flicker and die under the onslaught. Human vessels press the attack, blasting the exposed hulls with concentrated fire. Aboard the Ithorian flagship, Supreme Commander Altair slams his fist on the arm of his command chair. Consoles spark and smoke fills the bridge as the human weapons find their mark. "Impossible," Altair snarls. "These primitives should be helpless before us." He turns to his weapons officer, a look of rage contorting his alien features. "Initiate planetary bombardment," Altair commands. "Raise their cities to the ground. Show them the price of defiance." The Ithorian fleet shifts, their ships turning to face the blue-green marble below. Hatches open, revealing rows of massive cannons. With a series of world-shattering roars, the alien weapons unleash their fury upon the helpless planet. On the surface of Earth, the sky turns red as the bombardment begins. Cities erupt in flames as the Ithorian weapons strike, each blast leveling entire districts. Skyscrapers crumble, monuments vanish in plumes of dust and debris. Millions perish in an instant, the death toll climbing with every passing second. Ethan watches in horror as his homeworld burns. The screams of the dying seem to echo in the silence of the bridge. He knows that if the bombardment continues, there will be nothing left to save. "Helm, bring us alongside the flagship," Ethan orders. "Prepare the strike team for boarding action." The Prometheus surges forward, weaving between the Titans clashing in orbit. Ithorian point defenses rake the human ship's hull, alarms blaring as the shields struggle to hold. With a teeth-rattling impact, the Prometheus slams into the flagship's flank, umbilical cables snaking out to secure the vessels together. "Breach their hull," Ethan commands. Shaped charges detonate, tearing a ragged hole in the Ithorian ship's armor. Ethan leads the charge, his exosuit-clad warriors pouring through the breach. The cramped corridors of the alien vessel become a whirlwind of close-quarters combat, human and Ithorian forces clashing in desperate hand-to-hand fighting. Step by step, Ethan and his team fight their way towards the bridge, leaving a trail of broken Ithorian bodies in their wake. The ship shudders as the human fleet continues to hammer its shields, the power flickering with each impact. On Earth, the remnants of humanity huddle in underground shelters, praying for salvation as the world above burns. In the skies, Captain Novak rallies the human ships, his voice steady over the comm. "Stand fast!" he shouts. "We will not let our world fall." Ethan and his strike force finally breach the armored hatch of the flagship's bridge. They storm into the command center, weapons blazing. The Ithorian guards fall before the human onslaught, their blood staining the deck. Altair rises from his command chair, drawing a wicked-looking blade. Ethan steps forward, his rifle leveled at the alien commander's chest. "It's over, Altair," Ethan says, his voice cold. "Surrender now, and I may show mercy." The Ithorian warlord sneers, his eyes filled with hate. "Mercy? From a primitive like you?" Altair scoffs. "I will send your people screaming into the void before I surrender to the likes of you." The two leaders lunge at each other, Ethan's rifle forgotten as Altair's blade clashes against his armored suit. The fate of billions hangs on this moment, a last desperate struggle as a world burns outside. With every breath, they fight. Ethan Morgan stood before the vast holographic display, his face illuminated by the eerie glow of countless red dots representing the approaching alien armada. The war room fell silent as he absorbed the gravity of the situation. "Sir, we've got confirmation," a technician called out. "The deep space probes have detected an enormous fleet entering the solar system. It's unlike anything we've ever seen." Ethan's expression resolute. "Show me." The hologram shifted, zooming in on the outer reaches of the solar system. The sheer number of alien vessels dwarfed even the Ithorian invasion force they had faced months ago. These ships bore no familiar markings or signatures, hinting at an entirely new threat. "Get me every world leader now," Ethan barked, "and assemble our top brass and scientists. We need to formulate a response immediately." Within hours, the emergency summit convened. Leaders from across the globe gathered virtually, their faces grim as they digested the intel. General Zhao, Earth's most decorated military strategist, spoke first. "The data is clear. These ships possess technology far beyond our own. If they choose to attack, our current defenses won't stand a chance." Dr. Emilia Reyes, head of Xenotechnology, chimed in. "Their energy readings are off the charts. We're looking at weapons capable of cracking a planet in half." The room erupted in panicked chatter. Ethan raised his hand, silencing the crowd. "We beat the Ithorians against impossible odds. We'll do it again. But we need to act fast." He outlined his plan, pointing to various locations across the solar system. "We'll establish forward bases on the moons of Jupiter and Saturn, early warning outposts to give us precious time if they decide to strike." "And our ships?" Admiral Kowalski inquired. "We'll disperse them throughout the outer system, cloaked and ready. They'll be our eyes and ears as the alien fleet advances." Days turned to weeks as humanity raced against time. Construction crews worked around the clock, establishing lunar fortresses on Io, Europa, and Titan. Ethan watched from the bridge of the Prometheus as the last human squadron vanished into the void, their cloaking devices rendering them invisible to all but the most advanced sensors. As the alien armada crossed Neptune's orbit, Ethan gathered his top commanders. The mood was tense as they reviewed the latest surveillance data. "These scans confirm our worst fears," Captain Lee reported. "Their weapons, They could render Earth completely uninhabitable in minutes. Ethan nodded grimly. Then it's time we unveiled our own deterrent. Initiate Project Mjolnir. Gasps echoed through the command center as Ethan brought up schematics for a new class of warship. At its heart lay a massive missile, capable of destroying entire worlds. We've been developing these in secret, Ethan explained. A last resort if diplomacy fails. Despite their efforts, the alien fleet continued its relentless advance. Ethan paced the bridge, knowing full well that their very existence hung in the balance. The thought of negotiating with an enemy willing to annihilate all life on Earth seemed futile, yet he knew they had to try. As the vanguard of the alien fleet reached the asteroid belt, they suddenly halted. Ethan's eyes widened as he saw an opportunity. "Prepare the envoy ship," he commanded. "We're going to attempt contact before this turns into a bloodbath." The sleek diplomatic vessel launched from the Prometheus, a white flag of truce emblazoned on its hull. Ethan watched it go, his heart pounding. This gambit could mean the difference between humanity's survival and its extinction. As the envoy ship approached the massive alien fleet, Ethan held his breath. The next few moments would determine the fate of Earth and all its people. Inhabitants. The envoy ship glided silently through the void, its gleaming hull reflecting the distant starlight. Ethan stood at the viewport, his heart pounding as the massive alien flagship loomed before them. The vessel dwarfed anything humanity had ever constructed, its sleek lines hinting at technology far beyond their comprehension. "We're receiving docking instructions," the pilot announced, his voice tight with tension. Ethan nodded, straightening his uniform. "Take us in." The envoy ship slipped into a cavernous hangar bay, settling onto the deck with a soft thud. Ethan led his team down the ramp, their boots echoing in the vast space. A delegation of tall, lithe aliens awaited them, their iridescent skin shimmering under the harsh lights. One stepped forward, towering over the humans. "I am Supreme Overlord Xeraxius. Welcome aboard the Celestial Arbiter." Ethan swallowed hard, forcing his voice to remain steady. "I am Ethan Morgan, representative of Earth. We come in peace." Xeraxius gestured for them to follow, leading the group through winding corridors of gleaming metal and pulsing energy conduits. They entered a grand chamber, its walls adorned with holographic displays of star systems and alien worlds. "We have watched your kind for millennia," Xeraxius began, his voice resonating with an otherworldly timbre. "Your recent victory over the Ithorians was impressive." Ethan's brow furrowed. "You know of the Ithorians?" Xeraxius's expression darkened. "They are exiles from our empire, cast out for their brutality. We have pursued them across the stars, seeking to prevent further atrocities." The revelation hit Ethan like a physical blow. He steadied himself against a nearby console, his mind turning. "You're saying the Ithorians were just outcasts?" "Indeed," Xeraxius confirmed. "And now we offer you an alliance. Our technology, our knowledge, all to aid in the final defeat of the Ithorian menace." Ethan's eyes widened, recognizing the monumental opportunity before him. "And in return, your assistance in bringing them to justice," Xeraxius replied. "Together, we can end their reign of terror." Ethan nodded slowly, his voice barely above a whisper. "I accept." The journey back to Earth passed in a blur of activity. Ethan pored over the data provided by the Xylarians, marveling at the advancements that now lay within humanity's grasp. As the blue marble of his homeworld came into view, he steeled himself for the task ahead. The United Nations building buzzed with nervous energy as world leaders gathered to hear Ethan's report. He stood before them, his face bathed in the glow of holographic displays showing Xylarian technology. "Ladies and gentlemen," Ethan began, "we stand at a crossroads. The Xylarians offer us knowledge beyond our wildest dreams, a chance to leap forward centuries in our development." Murmurs rippled through the assembly. The Chinese premier leaned forward, his eyes narrow. "And the price for this generosity?" "Our help in defeating the Ithorians once and for all," Ethan replied. "We have the chance not only to secure our own future, but to bring peace to the galaxy. Debate raged for hours, voices rising and falling as the implications were weighed. In the end, the vote was unanimous. Earth would join the Xylarian alliance. In the months that followed, humanity underwent a transformation. Xylarian advisors arrived, sharing their knowledge freely. Scientists worked around the clock, unlocking the secrets of clean energy and faster-than-light travel. Medical breakthroughs eradicated diseases that had plagued mankind for generations. Ethan watched from the bridge of the Prometheus as engineers swarmed over the hull, integrating Xylarian weapon systems and shields. The once mighty flagship now seemed almost quaint compared to the technological marvels at their disposal. "Status report," Ethan called out, turning to his newly appointed Xylarian liaison. The alien tapped a series of holographic controls, bringing up a galactic map. "We've located several Ithorian strongholds in the Orion Arm. Our combined fleets stand ready to strike." Ethan nodded, a fierce glint in his eyes. "Then let's bring the fight to them." As one, the armada of Earth and Xylaria surged forward, tearing holes in the fabric of space-time. The first Ithorian outpost fell in a matter of hours, its defenses crumbling before the onslaught of advanced weaponry. System after system was liberated, the once unstoppable Ithorian war machine reduced to scattered pockets of resistance. Ethan stood shoulder to shoulder with Xeraxius on the bridge of the Celestial Arbiter, watching as another Ithorian fleet was reduced to drifting debris. "We make a formidable team," Xeraxius observed, a note of approval in his voice. Ethan nodded, allowing himself a small smile. "Indeed we do, and there's still much work to be done." As the combined fleets pressed on, hunting down the last vestiges of the Ithorian threat, Ethan couldn't help but marvel at how far humanity had come, from the brink of extinction to a force to be reckoned with among the stars. The future stretched out before them, filled with possibilities. Ethan stood on the bridge of the Prometheus, now a hybrid of human ingenuity and Xylarian technology. The view screen displayed a tactical map of the Orion Arm, dotted with red markers representing Ithorian strongholds. "Target acquired," announced the weapons officer, his fingers dancing across a holographic interface. "Krodak's prime defense grid locked." Ethan nodded to Xeraxius, who towered beside him. "Execute the strike." A blinding beam of energy lanced out from the Prometheus, shattering the planetary shields of Krodak's prime like glass. Ethan felt the deck vibrate as the ship's newly integrated Xylarian propulsion system engaged, catapulting them into low orbit. "Strike team, prepare for deployment," Ethan ordered, strapping on his combat gear. The shuttle bay buzzed with activity as Earth's elite soldiers mingled with Xylarian shock troopers, their armor a mix of familiar and alien designs. Ethan boarded the lead dropship, his pulse quickening as the bay doors opened to reveal the scarred surface of Krodak's prime. As they plummeted through the atmosphere, Ithorian anti-aircraft fire filled the sky. Xylarian energy shields flickered around the dropships, deflecting the barrage. With a bone-jarring thud, they touched down outside the central command hub. "Move out," Ethan shouted, leading the charge across the scorched earth. Ithorian defenders poured from fortified bunkers, their weapons spitting streams of superheated plasma. Ethan dove behind a twisted piece of wreckage, feeling the heat as bolts sizzled past. He popped up, squeezing off precise bursts from his rifle. Ithorian soldiers fell, their armor no match for the advanced weaponry. A Xylarian trooper moved up beside him, hurling a sphere of crackling energy. It detonated among the Ithorian ranks, sending bodies flying. Ethan used the chaos to advance, his team leapfrogging from cover to cover. They breached the command hub's outer defenses, alarms blaring as they fought their way deeper into the complex. In the central chamber, Ethan came face to face with Arch-General Vorkath, the Ithorian commander's eyes blazing with hatred. "Surrender, Vorkath," Ethan demanded, his rifle trained on the alien's chest. "It's over." Vorkath snarled, reaching for a sidearm. Ethan's reflexes, honed by months of combat, proved faster. A single shot rang out, and Vorkath crumpled to the ground, stunned but alive. As Ethan secured the Ithorian leader, The sounds of battle outside began to fade. Reports flooded in from across the sector. With their command structure in chaos, Ithorian resistance was crumbling. Weeks later, Ethan stood at the edge of the Krodak system, watching as the last Ithorian warship was systematically dismantled. Vorkath and his officers, shackled and defeated, were led onto a prisoner transport bound for Earth. "A new era begins today," Zaraxius intoned, his multifaceted eyes reflecting the stars. "One of unity between our peoples." Ethan nodded, his mind already turning to the future. On Earth, he knew, construction crews were breaking ground on a massive orbital station. It would serve as a beacon of cooperation, a place where human and Xylarian scientists could work side by side to unlock the secrets of the universe. The Xylarian homeworld loomed large in Ethan's thoughts as well. He had overseen the establishment of Earth's first extraterrestrial embassy, a gleaming structure that would serve as a bridge between their civilizations. The knowledge contained in Xylarian databases was staggering, offering insights into realms of science humans had only dreamed of. Ethan's comm unit chimed, displaying a schematic of a new class of warship. It incorporated the best elements of both species' designs, a testament to what they could achieve together. He approved the blueprint with a swipe of his finger, knowing that soon these vessels would patrol the borders of their shared territory, a symbol of their combined strength. As the last pieces of the Ithorian warship drifted away, Ethan felt a sense of profound change. The galaxy was opening up before them, full of possibilities. And at the heart of it all stood the alliance between Earth and Xylaria, forged in the fires of conflict and tempered by a shared vision of the future. The tranquility of the Xylarian-human alliance shattered like glass. Ethan Morgan stood in the command center of Earth's orbital defense platform, his eyes fixed on the holographic display. Red warning icons flashed across the star map, each one representing another attack by Volcarix's forces. "Status report," Ethan barked, his voice tight with tension. A junior officer looked up from her console, her face pale. "Sir, we've lost contact with outposts in sectors 7 through 12. Research stations Epsilon and Gamma are under heavy assault." Ethan's fists clenched at his sides. Years of peace and progress wiped away in an instant. He turned to Supreme Overlord Zaraxius, the Xylarian leader's iridescent skin dulled with concern. "This is worse than we feared," Zaraxius said, his multifaceted eyes scanning the tactical readouts. "Volcarix's influence runs deep." Before Ethan could respond, alarms blared throughout the station. The deck shuddered beneath their feet as explosions rocked the structure. "We're under attack," shouted the tactical officer. "Multiple hostile vessels decloaking off our starboard bow." Ethan sprinted to the weapons control station, shoving aside a stunned technician. His fingers flew across the interface, bringing the station's defense grid online. Energy beams lanced out into space, scoring hits on the attacking ships. "All hands to battle stations!" Ethan roared into the comm system. "This is not a drill!" The command center erupted into controlled chaos as officers relayed orders and coordinated the defense. Ethan grabbed a pulse rifle from the weapons locker, tossing another to Zaraxius. "We need to get to the auxiliary control room," Ethan said, leading the way out of the command center. "It's more defensible." They raced through the corridors, the sounds of battle growing louder. Humans and loyal Xylarians fought side by side, repelling borders at every junction. Ethan and Zaraxius added their firepower to the fray, dropping enemy combatants with precise shots. As they rounded a corner, Ethan came face to face with a towering figure. Archminister Volcarix stood before them, flanked by heavily armed guards. The Xylarian extremists' eyes burned with fanatical hatred. "Morgan!" Volcarix spat, raising a crackling energy weapon. "Your time is over." Ethan dove for cover as the air filled with sizzling bolts of plasma. He returned fire, his shots pinging off Volcarix's personal shield. A lucky hit from Zaraxius felled one of the guards, creating an opening. "Fall back!" Ethan shouted, laying down suppressing fire as they retreated. They made it to the auxiliary control room, sealing the blast doors behind them. Ethan's breath came in ragged gasps as he surveyed the battered defenders. We can't hold out here forever, Zaraxius said, his voice grim. Ethan nodded, his mind racing. We need to turn the tables, hit them where it hurts. He pulled up a galactic map, zooming in on a distant world. Vorkath 7. Volcarix's stronghold. If we can take it out, we might just break the back of this insurrection. Zaraxius studied the heavily fortified planet, his expression doubtful. It would be suicide to attack it directly. A fierce grin spread across Ethan's face. Who said anything about a direct attack? Hours later, Ethan crouched in the hold of a stealth shuttle, surrounded by a hand-picked team of Earth's most elite soldiers and Xylarian commandos. The craft vibrated as it entered Vorkath 7's atmosphere, its cloaking field straining against the friction. Remember, Ethan said, his voice low and intense, our primary objectives are the shipyards and weapons depots. Plant the charges, then get out. Speed and stealth are essential. The shuttle touched down in a remote valley, miles from the nearest settlement. Ethan led his team out into the alien night, their adaptive camouflage blending seamlessly with the environment. They moved like ghosts through the rugged terrain, avoiding patrols and sensor grids with practiced ease. As they approached the outer perimeter of Volcarix's compound, Ethan raised a closed fist, bringing the group to a halt. Before them loomed the gleaming spires of the shipyards, a testament to Volcarix's military might. Ethan unclipped a device from his belt, a hybrid of Earth and Xylarian technology, capable of disrupting security systems. Let's go to work, he whispered, activating the device. The fence before them flickered and died, opening the way into enemy territory. Ethan and his team slipped through the gap, their mission to cripple Volcarix's war machine only just beginning. Ethan's breath came in short bursts as he led his team through the dark corridors of Vorkath 7's main shipyard. The air reeked of ozone and molten metal. Ahead, a Xylarian commando raised a three-fingered hand, signaling a halt. "Enemy patrol," the alien whispered, its multifaceted eyes gleaming in the dim light. Ethan nodded, pressing himself against the cold metal wall. The sound of heavy footsteps echoed, growing louder. He held his breath as two hulking guards passed by, their energy weapons humming with latent power. Once the coast was clear, Ethan gestured forward. They moved swiftly, their adaptive camouflage blending seamlessly with the industrial surroundings. The first objective loomed ahead, a massive hangar housing prototype warships. "Plant the charges," Ethan ordered, his voice barely audible. "We hit hard, we hit fast, and we're gone before they know what hit them." His team spread out, attaching explosive devices to key structural points. Ethan worked quickly, his fingers dancing across the detonator's keypad. A soft beep confirmed the arming sequence. Suddenly, alarms blared. Red emergency lights bathed the hangar in an eerie glow. "We've been made!" shouted Sergeant Chen, raising her pulse rifle. Ethan's mind raced. How had they been discovered so quickly? The realization hit him like a punch to the gut. There was a traitor in their midst. Before he could act on this revelation, the hangar doors burst open. Volcarix's troops poured in, energy bolts sizzling through the air. "Take cover!" Ethan roared, diving behind a stack of crates. The hangar erupted into chaos. Human and Xylarian commandos returned fire, their advanced weapons cutting swaths through the enemy ranks. But for every foe that fell, two more seemed to take their place. Ethan's calm crackled to life. "Morgan, we're pinned down in the armory. Can't hold out much longer." He gritted his teeth, assessing the situation. They were outnumbered and outgunned, with more hostiles pouring in by the second. "All units, fall back to extraction point Alpha," Ethan ordered, tapping furiously at his wrist computer. "Initiating protocol Scorched Earth." The explosives they'd planted began to detonate in sequence. The entire facility shuddered, support beams groaning under the strain. Ethan led the mad dash through collapsing corridors, the heat of pursuing energy bolts singeing the air around them. They burst out onto a landing pad where their shuttle waited. As the last team member stumbled aboard, Ethan slammed his palm on the door control. "Go, go, go!" The engines roared to life, catapulting them into the turbulent skies of Vorkath 7. Through the view screen, Ethan watched as secondary explosions consumed the shipyards. A fierce satisfaction warred with exhaustion in his chest. Their victory was short-lived. Proximity alarms screamed as enemy fighters gave chase, peppering the shuttle with weapons fire. The craft bucked and shuddered, systems failing one by one. "Divert all power to shields and engines," Ethan shouted to the pilot. "We just need to reach the jump point." Space warped around them as they made the desperate leap to faster-than-light travel, leaving the exploding shipyards and their pursuers far behind. Hours later, safely back in Allied space, Ethan stood before a holographic display, his uniform still stained with sweat and grime. The successful raid had dealt a crippling blow to Volcarix's forces, but the extremist leader himself remained elusive. Supreme Overlord Xeraxius's towering form approached, his iridescent skin shimmering under the harsh lights of the command center. "A daring operation, Morgan," the Xylarian leader intoned. "But Volcarix will not take this lying down?" Ethan nodded grimly. "No, he won't, which is why we need to draw him out, force him to commit his remaining forces." A plan began to form in Ethan's mind. He manipulated the holographic controls, bringing up a star chart of unexplored space. "We'll use Volcarix's desperation against him," Ethan explained, his eyes glinting with tenacity. "Create a target too tempting to resist." Xeraxius studied the display, realization dawning in his multifaceted eyes. "A trap." "Exactly," Ethan confirmed. "We'll fabricate evidence of Xylarian superweapons hidden on a remote world. Our best technicians can create convincing holograms, censor ghosts. The works." The Xylarian leader's mandibles clicked in approval. "And when Volcarix commits his fleet to seize this non-existent prize?" "We'll be waiting for him," Ethan finished, a predatory grin spreading across his face. Days later, Ethan stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching as Volcarix's remaining forces fell into the cleverly laid trap. The extremist fleet appeared in a flash of light, weapons already charging. "All ships engage," Ethan ordered, his voice ringing with authority. Space lit up with energy beams and torpedo trails as the two fleets clashed. Ethan's vessel shuddered as it traded devastating blows with Volcarix's command ship. "Sir, their shields are weakening," called out the tactical officer. Ethan's eyes narrowed. This was their chance. "Prepare boarding parties. We're going to end this, here and now." The hull of Volcarix's flagship groaned as Ethan's boarding party blasted through the airlock. Acrid smoke filled the air, mixing with the ozone stench of weapons fire. Ethan ducked behind a fallen bulkhead, pulse rifle at the ready. "Move up!" he shouted, gesturing to his team. They advanced through twisting corridors, engaging Volcarix's elite guards in vicious close-quarters combat. Ethan's armor absorbed a glancing hit, the impact knocking him back. He returned fire, dropping two opponents with precise bursts. As they neared the command center, the ship lurched violently. Ethan stumbled, grabbing a wall panel for support. "Allied fire!" Lieutenant Ramirez called out. "They've scored a direct hit!" Ethan saw their opportunity. "Push forward now!" They stormed the bridge, catching the disoriented crew off guard. In seconds, they secured the perimeter. Ethan's eyes locked onto a tall figure near the main control console, Archminister Volcarix. The Xylarian extremist's face contorted with rage. "Morgan, you dare invade my ship?" "It's over, Volcarix," Ethan said, weapon trained on the renegade leader. "Surrender." Volcarix laughed, a harsh, grating sound. "Never. I'll purge the galaxy of human filth and restore Xylarian supremacy." His hand shot out, fingers dancing across the console. Warning klaxons blared. "Self-destruct sequence initiated," an automated voice announced. Ethan's heart raced. "Stop him!" Lieutenant Ramirez reacted instantly. Her rifle cracked, the shot striking the console in a shower of sparks. The self-destruct countdown froze. Volcarix snarled and bolted for a side exit. Ethan fired, but the Xylarian was already through the door. "After him," Ethan ordered, leading the charge. They pursued Volcarics through collapsing corridors. The ship shuddered constantly now, systems failing all around them. Ahead, they heard weapons fire. Rounding a corner, they found a group of loyal Xylarian soldiers cut down, Volcarics disappearing down another passageway. "He's heading for the hangar," Ramirez said, checking her tactical display. Ethan made a split-second decision. "Take your team and cut him off. I'll rig the reactors to blow." Ramirez nodded, leading half the squad in pursuit. Ethan and his remaining troops fought their way to engineering. They worked quickly, planting charges on key systems. "Charges set," Ethan's demolitions expert reported. Ethan's comm crackled. "Morgan! Volcarics is cornered in the hangar, but he's got a shuttle." "On my way," Ethan replied, sprinting towards the hangar bay. They arrived to find Ramirez's team exchanging fire with Volcarics, who had barricaded himself in a heavily armed shuttle. Ethan didn't hesitate. He triggered the charges. The ship bucked violently. Alarms screamed as systems failed. Volcarics' shuttle, caught in the power surge, sparked and died. But the Xylarian wasn't done. Missile pods on the shuttle's hull opened, a final spiteful attack. Ethan's eyes widened. He spotted a discarded plasma cannon and hefted it to his shoulder. Time seemed to slow as he tracked the outgoing missiles, squeezing the trigger. Energy lanced out, detonating the warheads in mid-flight. "All units, move in!" Ethan shouted. They swarmed the shuttle, Ethan and Ramirez in the lead. Volcarics fought like a cornered animal, but he was outnumbered and outgunned. A precisely aimed stun blast finally took him down. As Volcarics was secured, Ethan stepped back, surveying the carnage. He caught sight of Supreme Overlord Xeraxius entering the hangar with reinforcements. "It's done," Ethan said simply. Xeraxius inclined his head. "Thanks to you, Morgan. The Alliance stands strong." Ethan allowed himself a small smile, but he knew the work of maintaining peace had only just begun. Ethan stared at the flickering holographic display, his eyes scanning the damage reports flooding in from across the Xylarian Empire. The capture of Volcarics should have marked the end of their struggles, but fate had other plans. An alarm blared through the command center. Ethan's head snapped up, locking eyes with Supreme Overlord Xeraxius. "Sir, we've got a critical situation on Volcarics' flagship," a technician called out, fingers flying over the controls. Ethan rushed to the main view screen, watching in horror as the massive vessel's power core fluctuated wildly. "What's happening?" "The core's going critical," the technician replied, voice tight with tension. "Sabotage protocols we missed. It's cascading out of control." Ethan's mind raced. They had mere minutes before catastrophe struck. He keyed his comm, broadcasting to all ships in the vicinity. "This is Commander Morgan. All personnel, evacuate Volcarics' flagship immediately. This is not a drill." The next few moments passed in a blur of frantic activity. Ethan coordinated rescue efforts, watching as escape pods jettisoned from the dying ship. But it wasn't enough. The core's meltdown accelerated beyond their worst projections. An advisor approached, face ashen. "Sir, if that ship detonates here, the blast could destabilize the entire system. Billions will die." Ethan's blood ran cold. He turned to Xeraxius, seeing his own grim realization mirrored in the Xylarian's compound eyes. There was only one choice. "Plot a collision course with the dead moon in Sector 7, Ethan ordered, his voice steady despite the weight of the decision. "We'll contain the blast there." As the automated systems engaged, guiding the doomed flagship away from populated space, Ethan watched the evacuation feeds. Not everyone would make it out. He clenched his fists, forcing himself to focus on the billions they might save. A familiar voice crackled over the comm. "Ethan, the navigation systems are failing. Someone needs to pilot her in." His heart sank. "Anna, no! Get out of there now!" Lieutenant Ramirez's voice was calm, resolute. "You know I can't do that, sir. It's been an honor serving with you." Ethan opened his mouth to protest, but the words died in his throat. He watched, helpless, as the flagship streaked toward the barren moon, Lieutenant Ana Ramirez at the helm. The impact was cataclysmic. The moon shattered, a brilliant explosion temporarily outshining the system's sun. Ethan shielded his eyes, feeling the deck lurch beneath him as the shockwaves slammed into their ship. Alarms wailed. The lights flickered and died, plunging the command center into darkness. Ethan stumbled, grabbing onto a nearby console for support. Emergency power engaged, bathing the room in an eerie red glow. "Damage report!" Ethan shouted over the cacophony of alerts. "Multiple hull breaches, sir," someone called back. "We've lost entire sections of the ship." Ethan's mind reeled. How many had they lost? How many worlds now teetered on the brink of uninhabitability? He forced himself to focus, to lead. "Initiate emergency protocols," he ordered. "Get me a full assessment of system-wide damage." As the hours passed, the grim reality of their situation became clear. While they had prevented total annihilation, the cost had been staggering. Ethan stood before a view screen, surveying the devastation alongside Xeraxius. "We will rebuild," the Xylarian leader intoned, his usual stoicism tinged with sorrow. Ethan nodded, his throat tight. "Yes, we will, but first we honor those who made it possible." Days later, Ethan stood before a vast assembly of humans and Xylarians. A sea of somber faces looked up at him as he spoke of sacrifice, of unity in the face of adversity. His eyes lingered on the holographic image of Lieutenant Ana Ramirez, forever frozen in time. "Their courage will not be forgotten," Ethan concluded, his voice hoarse with emotion. "Their sacrifice will light our way forward." As the ceremony concluded, Ethan found himself unable to shake the weight of command. He approached Xeraxius, decision made. "Supreme Overlord," he began, "I believe it's time for new leadership within the Interstellar Defense Force. I'd like to step back, to serve in an advisory capacity." Xeraxius studied him for a long moment before nodding. "Your wisdom will be invaluable as we rebuild, Morgan. Perhaps in this new role, you can help forge an even stronger bond between our peoples." Ethan managed a small smile, already envisioning the work ahead. The path forward would be hard, but he was ready to face it, not as a commander, but as a bridge between two civilizations united by shared struggle and hope for a brighter future.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.